What is up, everybody? Chris Flick here, Chris Flick Podcast, episode 108. Today we got a special guest, the legend himself, Stephen Rose.
Yo.
Is back in action. We did at least one of these, or we did two of these before.
Two so far.
So today, Stephen has no idea what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to come at him with some info, and we're just going to get some feedback. But I think he's going to like this topic. It has to do kind of with, a little bit like with the underdog.
Oh, yeah. The underdog.
All right, so Steve-O, this is what we got here. What if I told you there was something that gave students higher grades than their peers? They were 4.5 times more likely to be in the top 20% of their class. It led them to occupy leadership roles, 11% more likely to occupy leadership roles. 20% less chance of psychological counseling for academic and or behavioral problems. Reduce the likelihood of being identified as having ADHD by their teachers by 50%. And lastly, increased likelihood of reaching a professional sport league.
I would ask,
like
what
that.
is it?
You want to get in on that?
Yeah.
Just basically how old you are relative to your peers in your class. And it's called the relative age effect. All right. So I think Malcolm Gladwell went about this in the book Outliers back in the day, and basically looked at NHL hockey players, and just to kind of sum it all up, 40% of the NHL was born at the first 3 months of the year, which in hockey is the cutoff date. So 40% were born in January, February, and March. 10% were born in the last 3 months, which is October, November, and December. So basically, his premise was like, hey, if you're not born in the first 3 months, your chances are pretty slim to none, right? So anyway, when we get into this relative age effect, it's your age relevant to your peers in the same cohort, right? In the same grade, same class, same team. Like at Emmy's age, at this young age, right? She's 4. There's a huge gap. Like before preschool to now, she's like a totally different person. So the younger they are, the more growth that like they have over the course of the year. So if you have 7 or 8 year olds, and one is the oldest kid in the class, and one is the youngest kid in class, that 11 plus month gap is pretty huge, to the point that they might be the better performers like this stuff. So all of that stuff was from the British Journal of Psychology. I didn't just kind of make it up or cherry pick some news. I just read an article from them, and most of the countries have this issue with cutoffs and teaching to basically what it ends up doing is teaching to the older kids a little bit more, because they get more with their extra talent, and I'll put that in quotes. They'll get better resources, they get put in the gifted programs, and really if they do it at such a young age, it's only because they might be more mature than the other kids in their class.
Makes sense.
Right. So when the talent, it basically just promotes a system of, rather than finding who really might have like this long-term talent and potential, it just finds who is the best at a younger age, which isn't always necessarily the best indicator for the plan down the road. And then there's a whole like self-esteem issue that goes along with this. So like the smarter kids, they might just feel better about themselves because they're doing good work. The teachers tell them they're good. And when we looked at things like the ADHD and stuff like that, it's being identified by teachers. And it might just be because that kid's not mature enough to like be in that class, or doesn't get the content too well, so his mind starts drifting a little bit, and he might not be totally engaged in the subject at hand. Then when we look at it with sports teams, I think like in youth sports, you always remember those kids that were like, well, I guess even as you get into middle school, like some kids have mustaches and like bench pressing 200, and they're running for 25 touchdowns in the season. But as they get older, then it kind of, once everything kind of levels off, if they don't have the qualities that I kind of want to talk about, if they don't develop those certain qualities that separate the good, I guess, from the good from the great, they're going to end up just kind of being passed by.
Yeah, plateaued.
Well, I guess so, right? But, that's probably right. They're not developing anymore. So I guess by definition, Steve, that would be a plateau.
Yeah.
What was one other thing I wanted to get in here with? And then basically, too, with all this, it just kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where, which is basically just a false definition in the beginning, which is identifying talent at like the age of 8. So that false definition in the beginning evokes a new behavior. That new behavior would be more attention given to them, better coaches, better resources, better facilities. That's what the Malcolm Gladwell thing was. If you find that kid who's the best hockey player at the age of 8 or 9, he's going to be on the select team. The select team will have better coaches. They'll have more opportunities to train and just play better teams, and with better competition and all of that other stuff, they will eventually fulfill the prophecy, the false prophecy from the beginning, because they got all the attention to develop more than the others. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It becomes true. Self-fulfilling prophecy, Steve-O. So what do we
But
got?
it's a fake self-fulfilling prophecy.
That's what according to this definition, that's what a self-fulfilling prophecy is. It's a false definition in the beginning
Okay.
evokes a behavior, which would be that extra attention.
Okay. Gotcha.
That will eventually make the original concept come true.
Okay.
What's your thoughts, bro?
I don't think it's false at the beginning, but then it comes true. So it's almost like it doesn't make any sense.
Sounds pretty tricky.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't even know where I got that from. I'll blame the British Journal of Psychology for that definition right there. But anyway, this is where we're going here. Sports.
Good direction.
Did you ever play them?
Yeah.
All right. Steven's got some background. Played a couple sports back in the day. College athlete. I see a lot of stuff going on. Parents coming through. Kids coming through. Select teams. Tryouts. Assessments. I look at the pictures of these things that are put online, say, of assessments. I'm like, oh, who's assessing these 9-year-olds? Then it's a bunch of dads.
Bunch of guys who benched 500 back
They
in
might
high
have
school.
played, or if it's a baseball assessment, they played 3 years of like Little League, and then now they're assessing kids and putting them on select teams and all that stuff. So, so I guess my big gripe would be this: like, when you look at that school that you went to, right, at Salkin,
Right.
I coached there, and they ended up having a championship team. They had great numbers. When you compare that program to some of these other schools, there was somebody in here the other day telling me that the high school lacrosse team might not have a team. Not like, I don't even know if they had a JV team, but they literally might not have a team.
Yeah.
Soccer, boys and girls, the numbers are down. And then when you see what's going on at the lower ranks, you have tryouts. They're doing travel, not a lot of rec. They are doing A and B teams potentially. And when I compare what the wrestling program did with some of these things, it's pretty much total opposites. You have on one hand a coach that put in a bunch of time to get kids out at the lower levels. So it was a number game at the lower levels. And let's say you get 20 kids out, 5 new kids in middle school. Like, we would coach those kids up to the point that they might win 20 to 25 matches when they're in high school, or they might place at states. And these kids never participated in the sport before. It was never like, let's cut kids, let's eliminate some rec teams so that way our kids could play travel sports, and then that way they'll get better coaching. I don't know if it goes back, I don't know, I'll just put that in quotes. I don't even know if they're going to get better coaching. But, because it's the same coaches that would be coaching directly, so all it does really just seems to discourage kids from playing, because now you have kids that have to go on these travel leagues and all this other stuff. And at a small school like the one that we were at, I feel like it's always a numbers game, Steve-O.
I feel like that's the last thing we should be doing, though. Cutting kids from sports teams.
What age would you cut a kid?
Maybe cutting a kid from a high school varsity team, but maybe allowing
Well, you would
JV.
let them on a team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't remove anybody ever. I mean, what does it even hurt? Like, maybe there's some travel costs, right? I mean, when I was in high school for a year or two, we had like, not all the kids traveled to away games for football. I don't know why. I don't know if we didn't take 2 buses at the time, but like, I feel like that could be a rule. Like, you could stay on the team and practice. When I ran radio, where you have somebody come in, like, I mean, you see some of these, I'll look at baseball, for example. They have 5 coaches or something. It's like, one of those guys can't just like, instead of cutting the 7 kids, like, can't they just figure something out?
Right.
Like, don't you need guys in the field? Like, I don't want to say you destroy those kids' arms or anything, but they could just play the damn field.
Yeah. find a role for them.
Yeah, or they do the dirty work or something. I really don't know, but so then there was that component too. You got something on that, Steve?
I just think so. At Ursinus, we had a bunch of kids on the team. Like, we're talking like 100+ kids on the football team.
Yeah.
And a little bit different because of like how admissions plays a factor and stuff. Of like, schools like Ursinus, Muhlenberg, Moravian have a lot of athletes, and athletes kind of drive enrollment. So, they want these high amounts of kids on teams. Sometimes, like, at the college level, that could be, once the objective comes to, like, actually play the sport, high numbers starts to be an issue. But, like, even in high school, being able to be around these other athletes, these maybe whether they're more mentally developed, physically developed, socially developed, I think that's really important for a lot of these kids who instead miss out on that because they get cut.
Well, that brings up the point, I think, too, with the younger kids is that the coaches and the organizations even, they decide that they want to have the best like now. And the best now might be getting rid of some of these kids. But then they don't remember that long-term strategy of, I mean, think about some of the kids that are just late bloomers, that are just small. Like, this guy's a power lifter. Ed Cohn, did I talk to you about this?
Yeah.
4'11", 97 pounds going into his freshman year. Aaron Rodgers was like barely over 5 foot, maybe like 5'3". Maybe started as like a senior in high school, junior, senior year. He didn't start right away. He went to community college, went to Cal, dropped in the NFL draft, one of the best quarterbacks ever. Like, you cut that kid as a freshman, you're an idiot, right?
Yeah.
But I'm sure that has happened at some point in time. Like, there's probably some untapped. I've been watching The Voice. You ever see that show?
Yeah.
There's literally people on there that are just awesome singers, and they would have like 50 views on YouTube. They get on the show, they get like 10,000 views. So there's so many of these great voices out there that nobody even knows about because they've just never been heard. And I think the same could go with like just athletes in general, or like there's so many, not necessarily to be like a professional player, but just like the lessons that you could learn from athletics, it just gets totally taken away from people.
Yeah.
And it's just a short-sighted approach to tell you want to have the best team as the best 12-year-olds, right?
Right.
Like, what about the high school team? Like, what gets you into college? Like, I always feel that, like, with teams that win, like, if you want your kid to get a scholarship, you probably want them to play on a good team in high school. Like, there was kids that when I was in school, they transferred to different high schools for sports and they ended up getting, like, something they would deserve. There was a girl, for example, that transferred to a powerhouse program. She ended up going to James Madison. Was she going to get the James Madison from Salkin? I don't know. But she went to like Emmaus that wins every state championship and got exposure and made it. So like, I always think that like if you.
Do you think that matters still so much now, with all like Huddle and Twitter and all these other things?
Maybe that's what I'm wondering. Is like, do you think like if you want your kid to go to college, you want them to have a good high school program, and if you stay at the same school that they're at, the idea would be to build a program from the ground up. Right, and it starts like you want to probably have the better coaches at the younger levels and have fun. And I mean, I think it's like 7 out of 10 kids quit by the age of 13 sports. Why? It's not fun is the answer.
It shouldn't be anything else other than fun up until that point.
I agree. So there's definitely a missing thing here, and I think it's the same issue with like everybody knows that you should. Well, not everybody. Every year in the Super Bowl, it's like it tells you how many. These guys were multi-sport athletes, right? People for, I would say, a good solid decade plus have been like, play multiple sports, become well-rounded. College coaches like this, they want to develop kids. They don't want kids that peaked out, right? They want room for growth. They want like a big athletic skill set. But then, it's still an issue. Like kids are quitting other sports just because they're playing club all year round or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I think this, win now. Like, I feel like parents know that it's not the best thing, but yet they still get kind of wrapped up and caught in it.
Yeah, well.
Coaches, too.
I remember when I played, it was like maybe 5th grade.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, 5th grade football, and your parents yelling at the ref about the calls and stuff.
Yeah.
And to the extent where it's, like, that was my first thought, because it's like, this parent's thinking, like, what the heck, like, they're not going to win this game. Who cares?
That's the best thing.
I'm in 5th grade.
I know.
Like, it doesn't matter. So.
But who does care? It's like you start looking at these people, and it's like, what does it serve? Like, why does it matter so much to that parent? Do you think?
I don't know. Maybe they're living vicariously through their 5th grade son.
Yeah, I don't have a clue. Like, why would it bother somebody so much if their kids lost the game? And I guess it maybe just serves like some sort of. With the coaches, it's probably like an ego thing a little bit. Like they want to be the guy, best coach in the league, and
Jocko, you know what Jocko would say about that?
What would he say?
It's not about you, man. It's about the team.
Yeah.
It's all on you, but it's not about you.
That's right. You've been studying Jocko.
Just daily videos from Jocko.
Yeah, he's coming at it. He knows what it takes to build. Now, the late bloomer Steve-O.
Yeah.
Like.
It happens.
Oh yeah, no, it does. So, what do you think happens to those kids that, I guess it goes back to that relative age thing too, and the late bloomer. I kind of wanted to lump those two things together because they're probably not getting the attention they need. It's like they probably get discouraged. Like you'd see they say in baseball, for example, they can't make a throw on a bigger field. So what happens to that kid? He's got to like sit out a year, or he doesn't even play. Well, like, and then what? Do they ever get back into it? And I think you would say that sports are like a great learning tool and all of that. They kind of miss out on all of that, all because of some kind of nonsense with a little league organization or a coach doing something that might not be best. You got any advice?
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta find a way to win.
You got any words for the late bloomers out there, Steve-O?
Just keep going. Like it happens, and you're not gonna be able to always do everything else that everyone else can do, but you just gotta like maybe set out a plan how you're going to accomplish that, and maybe if you're in middle school or high school, start hitting the weights, or
Jack
maybe
and Steel?
yeah, start pumping some iron. But maybe if it's like for example, me, I really struggled catching the football.
What did you weigh though when you were a freshman?
When I was a freshman, I weighed
with the late bloomer thing earlier too. What
about
did you weigh?
120 pounds, maybe
There was a
125.
kid that weighed less than that. I don't even know. Anyway, Savant. He was like 100. He was under 110 pounds when he was a freshman, and like this kid rewrote the record books in rushing, and then became the player of the year in the area, and then went on to a college at Muhlenberg and like broke a significant amount of their records, some of which your boy Brader had.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I'm just saying. You give up on that kid.
Yeah, you're dumb if you give up on that
Yeah,
kid.
right. And even you, I mean, you were 120 pounds. You were small. What are you saying? You couldn't catch anything?
That was separate from the weight. That was just like if you're not gonna be able to do something, sometimes you gotta find out a way to do that. For me, I couldn't catch a football, so I practiced catching a football a lot of times.
Dude, well, you
weeks,
talked
over
about
months.
Jocko earlier. Do you know what Jocko says if you can't do pull-ups? What you should do?
What?
More pull-ups. So it looks like you took that approach. You were applying Jocko knowledge before you even knew it. So you start catching more footballs, then what? Your hands got better?
Just started to be able to catch the football a little bit easier.
Makes sense.
It's still something I struggle with, but you gotta find a way to win. So if you're underdeveloped, undersized, whatever, late bloomer, you gotta find a way to win. Maybe get better, become more efficient at throwing, or become stronger, become faster, find some way to contribute. And maybe say there's a undersized baseball kid and he can't throw it from the outfield to the infield or something. Maybe take an extra couple steps before you throw, or talk to someone, or talk to the coach. Like, coach, what can I do to get a little bit better? You gotta have that growth mindset.
And there's some things I think you can control that aren't physical, like being a good teammate, having a good attitude, trying hard.
Yeah.
You can do all that stuff, and I think those are those qualities that I almost hinted at earlier, where like there's certain things that you could do that I think get neglected sometimes with those that get early success. Like some of that, in my mind, is the things that is often forgotten. Like maybe if you score 5 touchdowns in a game at youth, but you carry the football loose, right? It doesn't matter. You're running past everybody, but eventually, you're going to play kids that are almost just as fast as you, and they're going to get a hit on you, and you might fumble a football. And at that moment in time, you might not be on the field anymore if your coach is frustrated with you turning the ball over. But if you just take the time to learn like the proper way to do things at a younger age, when the speed levels out, it is those that do the little things better that separate themselves from the others. I think there's so many people with great talent out there, but they don't have the attitude or the work ethic or the care really to like play well.
Right.
They just rely on what they have, and if it's not good enough, they're like, oh well. It's kind of the fixed mindset approach there, where they just accept what they are and they don't try to.
They like to look at what they're good at and not find just one thing that they could get better at.
Yeah, and it's almost, I think too, with the younger kids, it's like, why? I scored 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
The hell do I need to
They don't understand the big
for?
picture. It's always about the big picture.
Always.
Always.
All right. Yeah, man. So, youth, what would you do, Steve-O? You got a kid, he's a late bloomer.
What would I do?
Yeah. And are you gonna have them, give me a sport that they're playing. Say they're 40 pounds lighter than the weight that they're playing in youth football. What's your thoughts on tackle football, by the way, for young kids?
I don't know. Like I started playing tackle football when I turned third grade. Third grade, it went from flag to tackle, and I think it was fine then because there wasn't really huge size differences. But like fifth, sixth grade is when kids started to like some kids were significantly bigger than others, and there's like a weight limit, but it's not a weight minimum.
Mm-mm.
And I was I was 80 pounds playing for the 135 pound team. So there could be kids that are 55 pounds more than me, hitting me, tackling me. Maybe they're faster than me too. Like, bring some physics into it. So what did
you do back in those days? What did young Stevie Rose do?
What did I do back in the day?
Did you play?
Yeah.
Did you get on the field?
I did get on the field.
So he's 50 pounds lighter. He got on the field. What'd you do, man?
Played fullback.
Outworked them all?
Played fullback in corner.
Just a bruiser.
I don't know. I guess I was decently strong for my size still at that time or something. Like I played. I think mentality kind of played an aspect into it because I wouldn't play afraid.
Yeah.
And because of that, I mean, I'll get banged up and bruised up, but nothing ever too terrible. But like these kids that play, afraid to get hit and stuff, those kids end up getting hurt the worst.
Yeah. And I think finding, I don't know about the what's the right answer with football. But,
I was a shoestring tackler.
That's what you have to do. The best tackle is the one that gets a guy to the ground.
Yeah.
So, by any means necessary, Malcolm X.
Yeah. Oh man.
He said it. Malcolm X knew it. So you got a kid, man. He's a late bloomer. Somebody's coming to you and they're like, "Hey, Steve, man, my kid's hasn't hit puberty yet. He wants to play tackle football. I'm worried about him. What are some of the things they're coming to you for some training advice?"
Well, first I'm making sure that the kid has fun doing it. That's like number one priority. Two, I'll probably try and pair him up with someone similar to his size. If that's not an option, then maybe I'll find one of the more mentally mature kids and talk to them and be like, hey, I want you to help this kid understand how to tackle a little bit better. So maybe I'm telling that kid, don't go all 100% for the specific reason to help this kid get better. If you want to be a good teammate, help this guy get better here and help that kid build some confidence, help him learn a technique. Maybe he needs to learn how to tackle. Maybe he doesn't need to see the field yet and he just needs to be around kids that know how to do all these things and find a way to contribute in his role.
What about if this kid comes to you and he said, "Steve, I'm not getting on the field. You got any advice? I'm 82 pounds playing 130. I want to play. I'm not making it on the field."
I'd probably say, you gotta get, whether he needs to get faster or he needs to get stronger or something. If they can't.
If they just didn't hit puberty.
Then
what do they need to focus on?
I'm probably still saying that because if he needs to get stronger and he's not getting stronger, if he can't get stronger, then
I think you said something earlier that might be a good thing. Get that mind right.
Yeah.
Do the things. I think you do those little things that you can control. You can't really control the playing time situation, but you could do, like you decided I was going to try to catch a bunch of footballs, to get better.
Right.
But that still didn't mean that you were going to get 100 passes thrown your way.
Right.
Like, that stuff's out of your control. So there's only a handful of things you can control. And I think that some of the mental things, you could try to improve upon the physical attributes. You got the mental side of it where you want to work a little harder maybe, or stay after a little longer, just have a good attitude always. And
right. Get everything else down. That, like you said, that big guy who's carrying the football loose. Maybe this underdeveloped kid, make sure he's always carrying the football tight. good technique when he's cutting, all these other things that he can control.
And then when we have, if some kids like, hey, I'm 11, I got my tryouts this weekend. Any advice?
The Carlos I'm 12 from the bench warmers.
What's your thoughts on tryouts for 11-year-old Steve? That's what I want to know.
I think it's dumb. I think a lot of those teams that have that are just after the money. They don't care about the kids.
Follow the money.
Yeah, that's what the people running the show probably are about.
Oh, you know what? Speaking of money, I saw that there's some states that are starting to, they're not going to fund high school football teams. I had this theory like 5 years ago, maybe longer now, that like everything was just going to become a club. Like schools, like football got a ton of stuff with like concussion stuff, so it was all like when that was going out. And like eventually I'm like, are high schools even going to like offer it through, because there's liability issues going on there. And I feel like we're seeing a little bit of that now where some schools are just eliminating the liability component to that. Have you seen anything on that, Steve?
I've not seen anything on that.
Dropping football, dropping other sports for liability reasons. Do you think because of the money situation there, money can be made as clubs, in a club environment? Do you think club football, like 7-on-7s, are starting to blow up?
Yeah, for the wrong reasons.
What are the reasons? Money?
Yeah. Yeah, about money and about getting cool pictures to post on Instagram. Like, how often do you see videos online about like a corner pressing a receiver, and if it was on a football field, it'd be, you know, a flag for being offsides or a holding penalty and all these other things, and then they post it online and thinking they're so tough, and in the reality, they just completely went against everything that the game of football says you can do.
What's a good picture though? It got a lot of likes. You know, I did a podcast a couple weeks ago on the persona, Steve, and there's this inauthentic. It's a mask, say. That's how it was defined. Persona's a mask that you put on and you take off. And I think everything was online, social media stuff. People create these personas for themselves, but they're not authentic. I almost compared it to like a pro wrestling story, where it's a character. You know, they're playing an act. They're doing it for not the right reasons. And there's this imbalance then with the authentic person and the inauthentic person. They go home at night and just like, that's who they're portraying is not who they are.
Right.
And that leads to...
You feel bad for the inauthentic person.
Yeah, but I think what's going on kind of feeds that right now. People are trying to grab attention and you know, likes and follows.
I actually just tweeted about this today. At Steven_Rose_ if you want to follow. I just said you got to be able to go against the grain. You can't be doing stuff just because other people are doing it. You should constantly ask yourself why you're doing something. And if the answer is because we've always done it this way or because everyone else is doing it, that doesn't mean that's why you should do it.
Did you ever hear of Tony Dungy?
Tony Dungy, yeah, I think I heard the name.
So he's got the book Uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
And success is not for the common person. If it was, then it wouldn't be success because everybody would be doing it, right?
Yeah.
It's the uncommon people, ones that are different from the crowd, that are truly successful. Do you agree?
I guess I do agree because not everyone in the world can be successful, or I guess it depends what you view as success.
It's like a participation trophy.
Oh.
If everybody gets one, it kind of
it
kind of takes away the intended effect of winning something because everybody got one.
Yeah.
If everybody's successful, then nobody's really successful.
Right. Well, there's the extremes.
If everybody wins, then nobody wins.
Yeah. Well, so I saw this thing online, and some guy's kid threw out his second place trophy in a baseball tournament because they don't accept participation trophies.
Second place is the first loser.
But I mean,
was that Ricky Bobby's dad? Was he coaching that team?
No. It's a guy. I actually value a lot of what this guy says and what he puts out there.
Who is it?
He's a strength and conditioning coach for FAU. Coach Joey G. I don't know how to pronounce the last name.
It's not the dude, the rugby guy that trolls everybody.
So the rugby guy responded to him then telling them they were.
Wait, so it's throwing out the second. Wait, so second place is a participation trophy in the mind of the FAU coach.
In the mind of this, so they did
kid.
not tell him to throw it out. The kid came back, threw out the second place trophy, and his idea was we're not accepting. He doesn't like participation trophies. A lot of people came back at him and saying, they give out silver medals at the Olympics, and I think there was kind of this. Everyone thought it was kind of black and white of like, well, it's either a participation trophy and he should throw it out, or he doesn't throw it out. He's accepting a participation trophy, and
So,
it's kind of, I don't know. It was a dumb
Steve,
conversation.
is second place a participation trophy to you?
I think it depends on what it is.
No, it's yes or no.
Is second place a participation trophy?
One person gets it. There's only one second place.
I don't know. I like it. I don't know, because you're second place. If there's two teams, there's a winner and there's a loser. Now, if there's 12 teams and you get second place, I think you should be proud of that. You should be able to be proud of kind of. I have my silver medals in districts in my room. I mean, I don't go and look at them every day and be like, oh yeah, second place, but we achieved good things that year and I'm proud of it. But at the same time, you have to be able to walk the fine line of understanding what the goal is, and if the goal is to win, then second place isn't successful. I think there's more to it than just the participation.
Why is the goal to win, Steve?
Because it's a game. You play to win the game.
So you're going to take the Herman Edwards approach. You play to win the game.
But
what happens if you...
It depends when you...
Like, are you a loser if you don't win?
Like, if you did not win and you didn't die, you lost. That doesn't make you...
So if you're... So you're a loser, so like...
Loser.
So everybody's practically a loser.
Oh, man, no, I don't know.
Like, there's levels to everything. So
yeah.
it's always the best of the best.
You either win.
If I go to a triathlon tomorrow without training and I take dead last, would you call me a loser?
Was your goal to win?
Well, that goes back to the whole thing with when just the participate or the second place thing. Like, why are you assuming that their goal was to win?
I guess that's what it's all about then.
What if their goal was to get a little better? Maybe they took third last year.
Then they should be proud of that. Did they get better? They should be proud of that. That's success.
What if the goals are just get a little bit better every day of your life, Steve?
Then, as long as you're measuring that, that's a good goal. I like that goal.
All right. So what do we get out of this?
Well, it just depends what success is, I guess.
Steve, you think everybody's a loser. And second place is for chumps.
No. Second place is good if you're.
What do they do class rankings in college?
No, they just got like the.
Oh, what about in high school then? Like, let's say
you got a number.
Let's say there's 200 and you're in like 50. You're like 30 actually, 30th in the class. Think you're a loser?
No.
What if you... No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure there's some other good examples. I just can't come up with them right now. But this is... I don't know.
Say someone gets a bronze at the Olympics. Are they a loser?
There's two other people in the... There's 3 people in the world that could do what they do. I would not call them a loser.
I wouldn't
either. He didn't win the event on that day. On that day. It doesn't mean that's the definition. I could be better than you. But if you beat me that day,
you weren't better than
on that day.
But that's when it mattered. The whole thing is you got to be better than them on that day. And if you weren't, then
what if you beat them 9 out of 10 times?
Were you better than them on that day?
Well, who's better? If I beat you 9 times, you beat me on one day, and that day's the Olympics. Who's better?
Oh man,
the guy that wins 9 out of 10, or the guy that wins 1 out of 10?
My friend Ryan gave this speech before one of our intramural basketball games. It was from Miracle, which I've actually never seen, but he's like, they might beat us 9 out of 10 times, but today is that one time, and that's what it's all about.
Did you guys win the game?
No. Almost.
Were you playing Russians?
No, we
that
were.
That would be crazy.
That would have been.
Yeah, so who answer that question?
What?
Who's better? The person that won 1 out of 10 or the person that won 9 out of 10?
The person who won that day. So if the 9 out of 10 takes place on that day, that person. If the 1 out of 10 takes place on that day, that person then.
All right, man. I'm trying to think of some other questions to really put you on the spot and challenge your first or last approach. What else you been doing, man?
What have I been doing?
Yeah, you're out of college now. You have no sports.
Right. So I'm home now, helping out at Cornerstone Fitness, helping out at Lehigh University with their strength and conditioning stuff, and studying for my CSCS. I actually finished chapter 1 last night.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a grind.
If you don't pass that, are you a loser?
Yes.
All right.
Oh.
Pretty tough exam. Probably the only thing I really studied for in my time.
Yeah, no, I'm not looking forward
That's
to
not
it.
saying much about my academic career. Good 9 months of studying, but I didn't have your knowledge
Yeah.
that you just picked up.
True.
So I didn't take all those courses you did. So it was a little bit challenging for my brain.
The brutal part is that doesn't seem like it's a lot of practical stuff so far.
There's one part of it, at least I don't know if it's still the same, but like the video thing is like super easy. There's 2 segments. You know, it's like I just kind of did good enough on the question and answer, and then they do like video things where they ask. To me, that was almost, there's like these little things where it's like, what's the difference between a hop and a jump or something like that? And they would show somebody do like a single leg jump over it, and you're like, it's a little confusing. Things like levers. Did you learn about that in college?
I did.
First, second, third, or like
Yeah.
that was tricky to me, but I think you'll be all right, man. You just gotta hit the books, man. Every day, just get a little bit better, a little bit wiser. Keep tackling it. Keep a good attitude.
Gotta chip away.
Show great effort.
Absolutely.
Keep on climbing.
See, I was a bit of a late bloomer when it came to studying, but I'm studying now. So.
Focus on what you can control. Get a good night's rest. You know, you eat a good breakfast.
Yeah.
You get your steak.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else can you do to optimize your studying?
Uh,
Just work out.
Yeah, exercise. Great
Exercise.
for the brain.
That's it. Maybe that's the advice to the late bloomer. Get a good night's rest. Keep a good attitude. Just keep chipping away.
Keep chipping away, yeah.
That's it. You just keep chipping. Eventually you're going to get to where you need to get to.
Absolutely.
What's that Jocko line you sent me the other day?
Uh,
About the hill?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, running down a hill. Best part about running down a hill, you had to climb the hill first. Happy Monday, y'all. Peace.
So that's it. You have to climb the hill first. You got to get
Before it gets easy, it's hard.
Yeah, he's right.
He is.
He was tired that day, man.
Not running down the hill.
One of my favorite ones, I think I told you this one. David Goggins is out running on the streets, and he's got his shirt off. It's like 100. He's like, it's 105 degrees. Car stopped by. I said, "Hey, Dave, why are you out here running?" He said, "Because you're not." And I was like, "Yeah, that's right."
Oh,
You
gotta drive by the joggers, ask them, "Hey, you need a ride?"
Some dude did that to me once. I was carrying a kettlebell down the road. He's like, "Hey, you need some help?" And I was like, "No, I'm exercising." He said, "Good for you."
Why are you
Thanks.
doing that? Because you're not.
He guy's like 65.
Yeah.
He would have flicked me off and probably kept going. I don't know, man. I think we got some people rolling through here. What else you got to tell us, Steve? What are you reading?
What am I reading?
Just the CSCS?
Just the CSCS.
What are you watching?
Peaky Blinders right now with my dad.
Is it funny?
No.
Okay.
Pretty dark.
What are you listening to? Other than Jocko.
Eminem just dropped a couple new songs. 20th anniversary of the Eminem show.
I mean, we'll have to get that going on in the gym.
Yeah.
All right, so reading, watching, listening. What about podcasts? Audio books? You got anything bumping?
I haven't really been listening to too many podcasts. My dad talks enough. I rather listen to some tunes.
Just put the headphones on.
Yeah. I like to lift without music.
Me too. Why do you like to?
I like to lift with people without music because I like to talk while I lift. I get some good ideas going when I lift.
I like to lift with nobody, with no music on. That's what I like to do. I like to go for walks. Do you ever go for a walk and just let the mind wander?
Yeah.
No music.
Yeah.
You just go out and you just cruise.
Yeah.
That's the best. You go run on a trail for a little bit. It's probably the way to do it. If you're working with a young kid right now, Steve, what's your advice to them? 11-year-old.
Show up, do the work.
Keep climbing.
Keep climbing, yeah. Keep chipping away. Have fun though. Enjoy it. You gotta enjoy the process.
Here's what I'm thinking. While you're home, man, I'm thinking we're gonna get a book out. It might be triphasic training. I got the notes that I took.
Yeah.
And we're gonna maybe hammer over those notes.
Okay.
And try to see if we can get some talking points out of that. You got anything you need to discuss with me?
No.
All right, man.
Watch out for the monkeypox.
Oh yeah, monkeypox are coming, man. They're hitting hard. Nine people, I think. In
9
America.
people? Dang.
It's up to, you know what? I checked the news and it was at 9, and then an hour later I checked it was at 10. That's a big.
We're
jump.
probably at like 11 or 12 right now.
I know. At this rate, probably shouldn't joke about it. It could spread like wildfire.
It's the next pandemic.
That's what you're saying, man.
Oh,
All right,
man.
time to go train some kids, man. Peace.
Peace out.